What up, y'all? It's your man, AbuAmerican Black. Yes, I am black, and I am back. We're back for another episode of the Blockchain Brothers. So, looks like Facebook got it fell out somehow. It didn't work. Oh well, I'm gonna stop streaming to Facebook. You just have nothing but problems with streaming to Facebook. I don't know what's going on with that. I'm gonna switch to Twitch. I normally have Twitch anyway, so delete on Facebook and remove. And I would give the middle finger, but they've been Oh, wait, I can go straight here. Actually, nice. I can go to Twitch right now. Okay, so we're streaming to Twitch now, live. Awesome.
Okay.
We are back for episode 2 of Blockchain Bros. And we have a guest, Jacob. Everybody knows Gracious interests. So, this is going to be a good one because we're going to talk about cryptocurrency security and how to secure your crypto. You know, we're trying to cover the basics for anybody who doesn't know. And this is your first time like tuning in. Then basically, you know, we're talking about like, you know, cryptos, different types of cryptos, and we're going from the beginners and we're going to, you know, continue on. I think this is probably a little bit very rudimentary for Jacob, who's actually worked, you know, as a miner and works in, you know, blockchain technology and whatnot. But it's good to have him here, you know. And we're more than happy to have him back more than once. So,
cool. Start it off.
Please, but before we go, everybody knows Gracious. Why don't you introduce yourself there, Jacob? Let us know what's going on. What's up with you?
I'm Jacob, and I've been doing cryptocurrency full time for about 6 years now. Started with just actually some investing. I bought my first Bitcoin to get into the MadeSafe project, and that turned into leaving a teaching job to move to Shenzhen to try to building open hardware. Interestingly enough, I'm still doing that. Currently, I'm one of the founders of BLURT. That's a open source like social blogging platform. It's also a blockchain. I work with the systems, basically in kind of like product design and developer advocacy. And I'm also working at Tendermint on a project called Starport. And I think the common theme behind all this, right, is actually with all these projects, I'm actually creating like device images, so like Raspberry Pi images that allow you to run the chain. I mined for 2 years with Drone Energy as well, which was a fantastic opportunity. They assist power plants in converting their output into hash rate, more or less, and take a very total perspective on that. It's like, okay, so you've got a source of electricity and Bitcoin monetizes it directly, so let's pump it out. And I remain just sort of like a fascinated student of the space. I love learning all this new stuff and also getting to test these new ideas in practice. I don't think there's any other career field where like you can try so many new things and be constantly exposed to new ideas. I'm quite grateful for it.
You know, I mean, sorry to jump in on you there, Gracious. But talking about new technology and security, since we're on the topic of security, I was actually quite surprised that you can now take your WordPress website and put it on blockchain. The only problem is like it's not compatible with SSL certifications. So, you can't actually you can, but it would be unwise to receive or accept or send payments over it. But I mean, I was surprised. I mean, I didn't even know that was possible until like last week,
That's actually one of the bases of blockchain reality. It's nothing more than information being established, really. So you can actually store everything on blockchain, technically and theoretically speaking. Naturally, if the files are too great, well, it provides limitations. But in reality, a bit of handy programming and some good insights, you can practically do almost the impossible with blockchain. Well, not the impossible.
It really is.
Do a lot of stuff, actually.
That's the thing, and I didn't realize that, like you said, you can do almost the impossible on blockchain when it comes to websites. Like, I didn't know this because if you host, like, let's say Cancel China, .cancel China. You can do that on blockchain. You don't have to have .com, .de, .co.uk. On blockchain, you can put whatever the heck you want. So that's one thing. And then the next thing, because it's hosted on blockchain, if you make cancel China .cancel China, China can't censor it. They literally can't censor it. So all these Chinese can go on cancel China as much as China hates it. It's an amazing technology, you know. It's unbelievable, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
once it's on chain, cannot be removed.
Yeah,
And
it's just awesome.
the anti-censorship potential of blockchain just exists like in so many different domains. And interesting, like it's also an economic pull. You know, I find that what you want to do is kind of move away from traditional web interfaces. That's actually why I'm working on this hardware. The hardware can serve the web page that you would access as a user. So if you are in a censored place, nobody ever sees that web traffic. It just, you know, it's encrypted session data. There's also like blockchain VPNs, like Tachyon. That's another thing that I hack on in the vSystems ecosystem. You know, what can I say? That one's real effective. And yeah, there's huge future, I think, in applications. Although this year, you know, what I find, everybody's really hyped about DeFi, and maybe I'm not as much. I'm trying to learn it, actually.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm quite hyped about DeFi just because it brings about, well, financial services towards the blockchain. I know there are different projects. I believe one of the very first DeFi projects was from Bancor. I know I made an entry somewhere on my website about it. It actually laid down the foundations of decentralized finance, well, introduced it to the crypto market. Remains small, but I'm expecting, well, not this year because it's getting to an end, but towards 2021, really growing, much more applications, etc., etc. So, yeah, people are slowly waking up to the possibilities that are available, and well, introducing financial services towards the crypto market is really one of the very last steps for mass adoption of, well, different cryptocurrencies. Now, I'm also very happy to see Jacob, and well, with his introduction, that he's busy with a variety of projects, etc. By reason, one of the remarks I frequently make towards people asking me questions is like, well, you can do so much more with blockchain. Many companies are quite limited in their fantasy on how to, well, apply blockchain in their companies. Me, for example, I believe there was a thread somewhere that I made on Twitter. Me, myself, I'm an engineer in heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and renewables. And I said, well, blockchain can be used in order to further, well, a company's, what to say, or to register companies' sales, products, etc. By reason that you can say, well, look, on the blockchain, all information is stored. But with a little bit of creative programming, you can say, okay, first block is, for example, sales. Second one, HR, etc., etc., and the transactions with, well, naturally, the tokens inside can be applicated and say, okay, well, that kind of token stemming from that block, for example, new employee that's going to be added, that's for the product information, etc., etc. So it provides a lot of information and, well, security towards a company's, well, well-being, I'm going to say, because at the moment, and that's one of the main trends that I see in many companies I work with, Internet of Things is becoming a big thing. Also, many companies are having security issues. Blockchain can help that by reason you've got, well, a big group, well, your employees, especially when talking about multinationals, which work on the private blockchain, but at the same time are securing it. And at the same time, because blockchain is more or less a distributed, decentralized information system, well, everyone can have access to it, which makes information, well, internally more available to everyone. So yeah, in my opinion, blockchain has a lot of possibilities still that remain unexplored. So yeah.
So can we jump right in?
Yeah.
let's talk about security on the individual level. I mean, because a lot of this stuff, I mean, a lot of people nowadays, everybody's talking Bitcoin. Bitcoin's on this meteoric rise. Everybody's trying to jump in. Everybody's trying to make money. Everybody's looking at altcoins now. ETH, XRP. Okay, XRP is probably a bad one now.
Well, you never know.
But people are out here and they're buying, cryptocurrency, and they're trying to cash in on this, current bull run that we're seeing. And so I'm just going to jump right in with some questions, and you guys can just go ahead and shoot it down, expound, whatever else. Guy goes out, he buys his first crypto. He buys himself some Ethereum. He buys himself some Bitcoin. Is it safe or smart to leave it on the exchange that he purchased it at?
No.
It not over too much. And then in the States, I think that there's an increasing government threat. I'm going to go ahead. I want to plug a product, because there's really only one storage solution that I'm fully comfortable with. It's called the OpenDime. It's unfortunately only for Bitcoin. I met the founder at a meetup in Toronto. He's fantastic. And there's a little USB stick. With the OpenDime, you no longer need to know or manage your private key, because it electronically hides it from you until you break a component off of the board. I've been through a number of OpenDimes now. I know that they work very reliably. And so the security profile changes. If somebody steals your OpenDime, it's gone. Your coin is gone. It has a little condom on it. They take the condom off, break the little component off the board, and then they can access the private key. Until that's done, and of course that tampering is visible, until that's done, your coin is just there, and it's a one-way store, and you generate the key. So the key on an OpenDime is generated by inserting the USB thing into your computer and dragging an image onto it. And the reason I'm mentioning it, just sort of beginning this conversation, is that for me, it is head and shoulders the best way to store cryptocurrency. I wish that I could store more than just Bitcoin on them, because you can get an OpenDime. It's the size of your thumb. Put it wherever. And as long as you have that in your physical possession, those coins are yours. The coins can be verified by plugging it into a computer at any time. You can sell your OpenDime, as crypto, and it can pass hands because opening it is, tamper evident. It's really, I feel that's where I feel best. But what do you guys, certainly don't keep it on the exchange, because they follow.
No, I'm going to say, never heard of OpenDime, but I'm going to explore it. In any case, me myself, I naturally use private wallets, hardware wallets also. By reason, it's a saying among all cryptocurrency traders: as long as your coins are on an exchange, they're not yours; they're from the exchange itself. In the past, there have been exchanges who went, I'm not going to say broke, but suddenly disappeared with thousands upon thousands of coins, which left many people disgruntled and away from the current cryptocurrency market. I always say, as long as you're not trading, remove entirely all coins from the exchange, or only leave them when the ones you are willing to lose or want to trade with. Otherwise, remove immediately.
So when he talks about moving things to a wallet, there are multiple types of.
Yeah, I
just lost him a little bit there.
Lost connection. I believe he wanted to say that there are multiple types of wallets.
You're
back.
So I was going to show this. This is a Nano Ledger S. I actually have 3 wallets. I have the Nano Ledger X, and I have the Trezor Model T. These are cold wallets, and basically now my crypto. I don't know. Maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but basically my cryptocurrency is stored online, but it is encrypted through these devices, and you need your keys, 12 or 24 keys, in order to decrypt your wallet and gain access to your Bitcoin, your cryptocurrency, whatever it is. Now, people might think, what happens if I lose this thing? It gets destroyed. You can recover it as long as you keep and maintain your cold wallet keys.
That's correct.
You know, the 12 or 24. I use a 24 key one, and in order to protect it from ever disappearing, I have this. This is called Crypto Steel. And although I can't show you my keys or whatnot, what it does is inside of here, it opens up, and then you keep your keys, your words inside of here.
Smash.
It's obviously like fireproof, you know, can't be destroyed. You can put a lock through it. Obviously, someone can cut the lock, but you know, it's just for basic security. So this is the primary option I personally, as a miner, use for my cryptocurrency. It mines to my wallets, you know, because I mine different cryptocurrencies, and so it, you know, I don't keep it all on one wallet. Although my favorite wallet, I have to say, is the Model T from Trezor. That's not an endorsement. I'm not telling you go out and buy one, but it's just my personal favorite.
No,
So that's one way.
Yeah, I've got also my own hardware wallets. Now that you mentioned your wallets, especially the ones with Ledger, I'm pretty sure there will be people starting to complain as soon as they saw this live broadcast due to the recent hack with Ledger. Of that, I just want to share all your wallets are still safe because they did not capture the private keys. The hack implied that they only got your customer information. So the only thing they know is that you own Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, but they do not know how much.
Well, they know that you own it, and they also know where you live. I consider that a grave personal security risk. Actually, I'm not an active user of like Ledger or Trezor. I own a Nano S. Not with me here in Vietnam. I'm getting another one, but generally, I mean, like what do I say? Alternative type systems without going into too much detail, right? You know, because the way that those things work, what they're really doing, you know, the idea of an HD key, where like you take the seed, and it uses the hierarchical deterministic key derivation to then break down successive pairs of private keys, a protocol core or standard called BIP39, which is actually super awesome. That's how all those, or not all, but the majority of the 24-word like seed systems work, is this BIP39. And actually it makes it's really neat because once you learn how to use the BIP39 tools, you can build like multi-currency wallets and stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, I tend to make also my own wallets out of old USB sticks that are big enough. Of that, I'm only willing to share. Well, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. It pays off, but it gives me an additional layer of security because at that point, no customer information available. And really, it's old MP3s, etc., that I dare to use.
That's very interesting. I hadn't heard of that technique before, but like, actually, I want to riff on the theme that you're kind of going on there. Have multiple systems, because any of these can be compromised. And if you get to the point, I mean, certainly this is where I am personally, where very, very little my assets are like connected to a bank, or anything like that. And so, you know, it's like, well, I know very, very well through personal experience that any of these systems that can fail, and that I can fail and end up, you know, losing these funds. And so it's kind of like, and you know, an unfortunate part about this is that maintaining a system like that, even just on a personal level, is quite time consuming, and is a bit of an exercise in paranoia. Like, I've definitely had conversations with friends who do more or less the same thing, and it's like, yeah, you know, I wish I didn't need to do that, but at the same time, don't really know what else I do to sort of deal with the. And I think it's going to get worse, actually, because there are a good number of chains launching, and to be honest, really, I think quite compelling ones over the next year, 2 years, and probably there will be a meteoric explosion in the number of address formats and key derivation schemes. So like, you get your public key from your private key. And that particular piece of math. And actually, there are many ways to do it, but there are just a few primary ways to do it. But every time somebody tweaks that, you have to add another layer to the overall standard. But like, to any newbie, I would just recommend that, certainly don't keep the funds on the exchange. And then number two, treat key management like it's really hard. And realize that if those keys are gone, the funds are also completely gone. There is not a recovery mechanism, and if somebody tells you that there is, it's most likely BS.
Yeah.
Can I jump in here on this, guys? You have to understand something also, because the blockchain is so transparent, and that's what makes it like, kind of awesome. And there is a degree of a lack to a degree of anonymity, because if you buy on an exchange, your individual ID as an individual is connected to that exchange. And when so let's say, although I mine, let's say I buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin and I transfer it to this. My address here is now public knowledge, in the sense that it is on the blockchain, and you can research what every address has inside of its wallet through that blockchain, because that's all public ledger. So obviously, the more you transfer and the more you have, the more interested people become, because now they're saying like, oh wow, like I was surprised. I didn't even notice until a few weeks ago, someone was watching old Satoshi age Bitcoin in a wallet. And they just sat there and watched it for years. You know how long they've been watching that? And when a whole crap ton of that moved, millions recently, it stayed there for like since the beginning of Bitcoin. And it just recently moved. Everybody was talking about it. It's like, several million, has just recently moved out of this wallet. So that means people are watching wallets with large funds inside of them. So securing your keys and everything and making sure that stays safe, guys, this is just as critical as watching out for your PIN number on your credit card, if not more, because a lot of people are now using Bitcoin as a store of their own value because of the tanking dollars and fiat currencies. They're using this as a way to store the value of their money. So be careful out there with these keys and everything, guys. This is very important information.
Yeah, that's also one of the reasons why I frequently advise to distribute all your Bitcoin funds over multiple wallets, so that it cannot be pinpointed towards one person. Reason thereof, well, it's a good move. The reason thereof, well, as AbuAmerican said, it is a public ledger. Everything can be traced. The only information not available is your identity. That's it. So as soon as someone has made a transaction towards your wallet, theoretically they know it will be you, and they can actually see and look up who it is.
And I'd like to just jump in there, if you don't mind. Jacob was mentioning this earlier. The biggest threat in this particular regard is the government, and this is the threat when exchanges start working with government. Because the moment an exchange gives up your information and they connect your wallet to your name, do you see? Now they know how much money you have in that wallet in general, because even if let's say you buy from an exchange and then you do peer-to-peer transactions, or you meet someone on the street, you give him a stack of cash and then he transfers it right in front of you to your wallet. It doesn't matter. Now they know they can view what's in that wallet, and that makes you taxable, in a sense, if that's what they choose to do. So,
so that's like an industry at this point. There's this company, Chainalysis. They specialize in it. And just because of the way, like you said, fully transparent. So Bitcoin gets mined. From the time that it's mined, that it came into existence, it moves around, and every single step remains on the ledger, and the ledger is completely public. And really, efforts to make it more private haven't really worked out. And so, I guess what I'd say to people on this is to just you want mining is incredible for this. Okay, if you don't want to have your name on a coin, invest in some GPUs or some ASICs, electricity, and of course, Bitcoin mining specifically these days is super capital intensive. Like AbuAmerican was, I think he and I first started started talking crypto because he's mining ETC and trying to kind of grow that out. But yeah, like that is a way to get fresh coins that are not associated with your identity. Also, interestingly, coins that are sent to you by other people are associated with their identity, and that can get conflated as well.
Yeah, to continue on that part, well, there's a few things. When it concerns blockchain tracing, there was the, well, supposed Twitter hack in July, August, which occurred. They said, yeah, we caught a culprit. And well, a lot of people actually said, yeah, well, but you see, it isn't as anonymous as it should be. Whereas if you read between the lines, it was not so much a matter of tracing the transaction, but moreover a mistake on the hacker's fault by, well, diverging the funds towards an exchange towards their private profiles. In itself, the moves they made were correct, and it's actually one of the moves you can make in order to remain anonymous. That is to, well, transfer the funds through multiple wallets, to distribute them. And the only mistake made is by, well, in the end, eventually, everything getting back towards an exchange towards I believe it was 2 or 3 culprits. If they were as smart to leave it on chain, they wouldn't have been caught. Also, when it comes to security, and that's actually an important part, it's something that I honestly have to say. It's something I discovered only 2 or 3 months ago, but there are hacktivists at the moment actively trying to break Bitcoin wallets, which is possible. However, the time it takes and the amount of hashing power needed is tremendous. Now, there are certain wallets which have been cracked, but how to say, well, undisputedly cracked, so they got the funds. However, it was during a sort of hacktivist race. It was the owner of the wallet who said, yeah, well, we're going to aid you, and I believe it was each week or each month or something, I'm going to give away 1 word of the private key.
Yeah.
I believe they ended at private, well, ward number 7 or 8 or something. Then finally, after 22 hours of pure hashing power of multiple GPU miners, focused on that part, they finally managed to crack open the wallet. It was, believed, after 91 or 92% of the total amount of possibilities that went through it finally opened. So yeah, it was madness, and I believe it didn't even recuperate the gains from the Bitcoin that was stored in the wallet. That amount of money was thrown at it.
I feel like as the amount of value stored in these systems goes up, the amount of effort that's put into these attacks will also go up. Interestingly, this creates a positive cycle. This is a good thing because the end result is more secure systems. Trying to break that that public-private key association, or I think that the biggest threat Bitcoin-wise, right, is not actually really the brute force part of it, but like if a flaw could be found and then exploited, well, you could essentially break the entire chain by moving stuff around. But one of the interesting aspects about Bitcoin, I should mention this, one of the reasons I really, really love Bitcoin is its sheer simplicity. So it makes a block every 10 minutes. Those blocks are fixed. There's lots and lots of nodes. And because of that, so suppose somebody does go and break Bitcoin, right? The Bitcoin community figures that out. Okay, so now we're going to choose a block. It's actually just how we launched BLURT. We chose a Steam block and scraped the state and started a new chain. So like even if one of the primary, algorithms for say like signing transactions in Bitcoin were compromised, you can switch to another one with relative ease. Be a pain in the ass, but very, very doable.
Yeah. Let's go back to security real quick for the average guy. So the average guy, he let's talk about owning crypto, because like you said, if you can't move the crypto, is it truly yours? And I have a case that was presented to me recently Gracious, you know about it. I hit you up immediately about it the moment it came to me. I don't know if you heard about this, Jacob.
Yeah.
But basically, what happened was, and this is something to look at when you guys go on to exchange. Can you transfer the crypto to your own wallet? Now, as we know, PayPal got into the cryptocurrency industry. What's surprising is PayPal, which is 100% confirmable, will not allow you to transfer any cryptocurrency you purchase through them to your own private wallet. So the question stands, is that truly your cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I love Jacob's immediate reaction when he heard PayPal. So that was exactly my first.
And I also think it's like straight on the highway to hell. So rehypothecation, right? Rehypothecation, rehypothecated Bitcoin. That's how you get more than 21 million Bitcoins. And the finance industry does this with all kinds of stuff all the time. I have a friend who goes on at length about like, dude, there's way less gold than they say because it's rehypothecated. They turn it into other instruments, and the overall supply of gold, it looks like there's more than there is. And I think on Twitter about this same topic, I posted, so like, does PayPal prove that they hold those coins? And I'd say to you, man, no, that's not your coin. Because you can't take it and move it into an arbitrary wallet. It might be like an investment vehicle. I don't really have a problem with that as long as those funds are somehow cryptographically verifiable.
Wait a minute. Do they even prove that they actually have those coins in their possession? Does PayPal even prove that they literally have the actual? Because basically, if they can't prove, or if they do not prove that they have the coins in their possession, what's the difference between fiat currency and fractional reserve banking? There's no difference. It's the same thing, just with cryptocurrency, isn't it?
Yes.
That's currently the case with PayPal a little bit. I'm pretty sure they have Bitcoins. However, not their own. They're being, held steadfast in a central wallet. And much like an exchange will say, okay, that person or that email address owns that part of the coins, but haven't fully developed the algorithm to say you cannot transfer or receive. They remain locked. So in a certain sense, they are running a semi-legal scam, brutally said. And from what I'm certain of, is that they are actually currently holding the Bitcoin, trading it slightly upwards to have more funds to buy in a bigger amount. And as soon as they let out the news that, okay, we can now transfer and send and receive Bitcoins on the platform, that the infrastructure is legally there to function as an exchange, at that point it will become possible. And that's one of the things I sent to you in private message. Right. I said, well, look, here in this picture, they say, well, at the moment it's possible to buy, but not possible to send and receive. And they give the impression of, well, we are starting our own funds. So they're actually making up their reserves. And after a certain time, as soon as they have the necessary reserves or enough value in store, they can actually go public and say, okay, we now can use Bitcoin. Because that's one of the things that I find weird, that at the moment people can actually buy Bitcoin on the platform. But in the news somewhere, October, November, they said, yeah, well, it will be fully developed somewhere 2021. So I'm pretty sure at the moment they're actually buying in, but not making it available to the general public. They're actually financing their own reserves.
So let me segue into another question. Would you recommend purchasing cryptocurrency from PayPal with these current
rules? I see PayPal as something great for mass adaptation, but currently I wouldn't trust it for a single dime. No way. I advise very against it. What's your opinion, Jacob?
All right. So one, fully agreed with you. Very advise against it. Two, if they were to do this in a super transparent way, which it doesn't seem like they're doing, it wouldn't be so bad. So like if they were like, okay, so we have this platform where you can buy these like pegs, and say like, okay, BLURT, that social chain I'm involved in, we have a peg token on the Ethereum blockchain. So it can be traded on Uniswap, right? So you look up WBLURT, and that allows it to be traded. Now, if PayPal were doing that, it were highly transparent, and they were very, very clear that, like, look, no, you're never going to be able to access the real asset, but you can speculate here. I mean, that's all right. But the trouble is, I feel that, like, the way that this stuff is set up, these larger companies are using their outsized regulatory advantage, two, kind of like shoehorning in their brand. Oh, you can trust us and all this stuff. And it does not seem highly transparent. It does seem like they're saying you can buy Bitcoin on PayPal. And in my opinion, if you can't move it off of PayPal, you haven't bought Bitcoin. You bought, like, I don't know, like a thing that allows you to track the price of Bitcoin and get back to dollars, which isn't so bad, but don't call it Bitcoin.
No, and I believe that's also one of the things which will frequently happen when it concerns DeFi services. Why they will also, I'm going to say, they frequently make use of tokens that represent certain amount of Bitcoin. The wrapped Bitcoin, synthetic Bitcoin. Well, in one of my courses, I explain in detail, do a full-on analysis just to explain how DeFi will work. And well, how to say, it brings in a certain disadvantage by reason if you start wrapping coins in order for, treating it like an option or a share in financial services, it implies it needs to be stored, centralized somewhere. And that's one of the weaker parts when it concerns DeFi. And I speak mostly positive about DeFi and the financial revolution that will take place the coming year, of all the possibilities that will be introduced. But at the same time, I'm slightly more hesitant, and I try to make as many but watch out remarks by reason, there is an underlying streams, securities, etc. So people need to watch out.
That, like, specifically securities, and it's so long overdue. So, like, my first touch of this stuff was one of my first touches was BitShares, and, like, I believe that the idea with that platform was, like, so that you can start your own distributed corporation. It allows you to tokenize, very similar to Ethereum, but much less flexible. And the reason that stuff hasn't come into play is definitely only regulation. And so the first place that figures that out, that like just comes up with a framework, either as a country or as a city or as a state or whatever, and allows that to happen as smoothly as it exists on the blockchain. When I say as smoothly as it is on the blockchain, I mean, like, what, making ERC20 costs $20, right? And it's instant, and anybody can do it, and nobody can question it. You start making corporations in that fashion, and wow, that is going to let people work together in ways that have never been possible before. So yeah, like, DeFi wise, I guess I really see a lot of that.
Yeah, blockchain security, everything's about networking when it boils down to it. The more you network, or the bigger the network that is established, the more secure it is. And also when it concerns wallets, everything can be more secured more easily by simply adding an additional layer of security. For example, if you say, okay, I've got a hardware wallet, I've got one private key, but oh no, technically I do not want to speak about quantum computing because there's a lot of myths and not so much fact about it, but they say, they will have tremendous hashing power, they can hack the blockchain, and they will easily crack wallets. That's quite easily fixed. You create a wallet with a double private key fixed, because at that point, the difficulty goes up tremendously, exponentially, or even logarithmically. So it isn't really an issue. The only issue you have is that your space to hold your private keys, like AbuAmerican has, it will need to contain slightly more papers. First private key, second private key. That's it, and the issue is fixed immediately. But yeah.
I'm not totally sure that actually does solve the issue, unfortunately. And also, interestingly, I'm not sure that quantum computing exists. I've had the good luck to work with a couple of cryptographers over the years, and So two camps, very, very divided. And to be honest with you, from my like mathematical layman's perspective, I can't figure out who is right. The folks who believe that quantum computing is coming believe that it's a couple of years off at most, and the effects on information security will be like total and far-reaching. And then the other people basically argue that it's an impossibility, and I don't know which. Yeah.
Well, I'm convinced of the middle road. The reality will somewhere be in the middle. Quantum computing brings about a lot of calculating power. However, people seem to underestimate the amount of hashing power present on many blockchains. For example, the Google quantum computer presents the amount of hashing power it brings out. Well, it can't even tip on a single mining pool for Bitcoin, so it wouldn't even make a dent. So yeah, that's one of the things people underestimate.
Yeah, coin security is something, and this is something you can do as a private person, actually. And if you're going to get into cryptocurrency, then you should, although you don't have to geek out entirely, you should actually like start researching what you're getting into. Look, there's a ton of altcoins out there, and guys are buying up altcoins, and they're not really looking. You can go on a network, and you can find several websites that show you the hashing power, or how much hash rate is on each coin. The hash rate equals how much security is behind that coin. This is one of the problems behind Ethereum Classic. Ethereum Classic actually used to be a very viable coin, but they had very low hashing power. And so what happened was a lot of guys, they just pooled together using a pool off of a legitimate pool. I think it's NiceHash. NiceHash.
Yeah.
They teamed up together, and they had more hashing power off that pool alone than all of Ethereum Classic as a coin did. And so they started doing offline hashing. When they came back online, they were just basically robbing money, that, just saying, hey, look, we solved these blocks, give us the money. And so now what happened was Ethereum Classic, they changed a lot. And from amongst those things is they did a Thanos update. I'm not going to go into detail about it. It goes into coin security and all this stuff. You can find a lot of information on it on Google, on YouTube, whatever else. But also the DAG file, how large the information that a GPU or a miner needs in order to actually, go into the encryption process and verifying blocks and breaking down blocks. They lowered it so that smaller cards, like 2 GB, 3 GB graphics cards, can actually still mine and verify those blocks. And so what happened was they exponentially increased how much hashing rate and hashing power is on the Ethereum Classic chain. And so now attacking Ethereum Classic like they did like 3 years ago, it's nearly impossible. If you do it, it would be so not worth it. It'd be more worth it to directly hash and mine directly than it would to actually try and rob break and rob the chain. So look at how much hashing power is behind the altcoins that you're actually going to go and purchase, because coins that have a weak or low hashing power, or their staking is like poor setup, or low rates, dude, it's viable it's open to an attack. Just because it's blockchain doesn't mean that there's not risks in terms of like what's out there.
There's a ton of risk, and you're so right. I wanted to, since we're kind of talking security for noobs, I did want to kind of get into economic security from the perspective of rug pulls, scams, or just low quality stuff, and kind of how to identify it. So, all right, suppose you're totally fresh, right? You're going to go out, you're going to buy, say, a quarter Bitcoin. Okay, you bought a quarter Bitcoin. Okay, now I'm hungry for some alts. That's cool. I don't know. I think there's fantastic things being done in altcoins, and that a lot of the applications being pursued are awesome. There's also a ton of bullshit. And so, all right, you as the noob investor, Ripple's been such bullshit. I'll tell you guys a story. In 2015, I was asked to lead a Ripple event in Saigon because I kept saying, well, I don't think it works like that, and you shouldn't need politicians to launch a cryptocurrency and other stuff. Like, can you go? Okay, I'll go. Yeah, Ripple is basically fake, and there's a huge example of something that's basically fake. But also, I don't really care that that maybe they were selling a fake security, right? The thing that I think really made Ripple weak, their network, is not robust. There's not a lot of nodes. There's not a lot of security. It can be crushed, and so it was crushed. And they didn't, maybe like think about it in an adversarial manner. And so like, what can I say? Get to know the community around a coin. When you invest in this stuff, realize that like, all right, you're taking your dollars, which are probably declining in value anyway. You're buying Bitcoin, that's probably going up in value over time anyway. And so now you're looking for like spectacular plays. And a lot of people are gonna hype you on, well, I've got XYZ spectacular play. Look out for forward-looking statements from founders and also like paid Twitter shills and whatever. Like, and it's weird because you have like legit community that might make forward-looking statements. Like for example, with BLURT, right? Like we've got really enthusiastic community members going out and saying stuff about price that's awesome. And generally, I totally agree. And at the same time, there's a line, and you have to find it. And unfortunately, that takes experience. And unfortunately, that experience tends to be expensive. So talk to people.
So we got a question here. Can you put the same? Oh, you forgot the. My man, I'm an English teacher still. You're killing me here, bro. I love you to death, man, but you're killing me, bro. Question: can you put the same Bitcoin into 2 different wallets for backup? Is that possible?
No, not possible.
Yeah, well, yes and no.
Yeah. I'll leave you to do the explanation.
Okay. So, like, I mean, you can store the key in 2 different places. You could store the key on 2 different devices for backup, and that's good practice in many cases. In other cases, you want to make sure that there's only 1 key. But you certainly can't like put it into addresses because every public address corresponds to exactly 1 private address. Yep. So, did that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it did. But just to break it down, basically, I wish I could show the screen because I was tracing some Ethereum Classic that I transferred, and it just took forever. It took like, what was it, 18 days to transfer the Ethereum Classic that I transferred. Needed 91,000 confirmations. It took 18 days for them 91,000 confirmations to take place. And we know nowadays the hash rate of Ethereum Classic has gone insane. I mean, it's shot through the ceiling. Nevertheless, it took me that long. So anyway, when you look at like the transfer, it shows you like, what block it was that transferred, the confirmations, all this stuff. And those Ethereum Classic, they have like their own basic encoding, sort of like a US dollar has this number on it. You can't store $1 in 2 wallets, and not unless you change it in and you break it down into its satoshis. Let's just use Bitcoin because it's easier. You could break that 1 Bitcoin down into multiple satoshis and send those different places. But then it's not really what you're talking about. It's like the same thing as like $1. If I split it into 50 cents, I put 50 here and 50 there, then that's not really the same as trying to put $1 between 2 wallets. You just can't do it, so. Yeah,
no, because at that point you would be actually trying to counterfeit Bitcoin, which is almost an impossibility due to the blockchain and the underlying programming. That's why the consensus mechanisms exist. You cannot store the same Satoshi even or same Bitcoin in 2 different wallets. It's simply impossible. It cannot be done. It's one of the measures that's been programmed into the blockchain. Simply impossible to do. Indeed. Except, like Jacob said, well, if you have 2 wallets which have actually the same address with the same private key, that's the only possibility. Otherwise,
you can't do it.
So, you never get the same coin in 2 places on the chain because then you've replicated it.
Yeah, it's basically counterfeiting, and you're just gonna lose everything.
Punish you. So like, Bitcoin's crazy. You can fire stuff at its API all day long. Generally invalid stuff is just going to come back at you, rejected, and like, I don't know, it's just such an amazingly robust system, particularly when we come into like stuff like fraud. It's been 10 years, and
easily,
keeps trucking really with. There have been a few, documented incidents of weirdnesses, but the stability and overall lack of security problems is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things which differentiates Bitcoin from many other projects. It's simplicity. And
Yes.
if you want something robust that works continually, so it needs to be simple. The more complex something becomes, the more entry points you can get to start breaking things down.
Yeah.
And that's
Basic engineering.
something certain altcoins do not immediately get. They say, yeah, but we added this service and that and that and that. So that implies I've got now 5 additional ways that I can break into the code. And well, fuck your project up. Sorry for the language. I hope this doesn't get banned on YouTube.
They might do the reduced monetization, but it doesn't matter. It's all good. No problem.
Every API endpoint is an additional piece of attack surface. I wrote about this recently because someone is actually attacking BLURT, and is definitely a case of like, one of the things that we tried to do with BLURT is actually reduce the number of features. We got rid of the SBD stablecoin. We got rid of really a number of things. One of the things we added fees because Steam, you don't have to pay for a transaction, so the chain got really, really huge, limited the node count, and somebody did not like that, and they found a transaction type that was not covered by the fee policy. And so, like, I'm at present dealing with that exact issue, and it's so true. Like, the less you have, the more secure and robust your system is going to be every single time.
So we're here on 51 minutes, guys. We covered a few topics. We talked about wallets, storing on whatchamacallit. Although it's not a huge deal, your receive address, so people can actually view what's in your wallet. And buying cryptocurrency through PayPal and this type of stuff. Is there anything that you guys would say or think that the average new guy who's coming into like cryptocurrency and wants to buy cryptocurrency, what should he know that we didn't cover? Is there anything that he should know? Can you guys think anything we missed?
Yeah, get informed and get to know the community behind the project, always. By reason, the activity of the community and the things they say is a very good indicator how successful the project will be. I've been approached by, multiple companies, even some time ago by some Japanese coin. Clearly, I'm not going to say a scam because they wanted to be legitimate, but community was like, 10 people making humongous claims, and I was like, guys, no, this isn't really a robust kind of system. And there are other coins. I dare not say Ripple, but they are such an example. They actually are started off as a sort of altcoin cheap copy of Bitcoin, but decided to take another route and try to hang on to government's tails to impress them, etc. One of the most bad moves you can do. Cryptocurrency is about decentralization, security, and finance. As soon as you start, tailcoating on government and regulations, and that's one actually of the main reasons they got a lawsuit. They said, yeah, we are a security, not by law. That's one of the reasons they're getting burned down. Sorry, burned down to the ground at the moment. So
they're getting the box there.
I feel like they made a lot of lies about their architecture as well. Like, it was just not really decentralized. Don't really think there was much effort to do decentralization there. Although I'm going to throw in like a little political thing. So personally, my belief is that if Jimmy wants to make a thing, a widget, and then securitize his widget, sell it all over the world, like, I don't think the government should have any role in that, and that people will like very rapidly learn to disambiguate scam from not scam, and at the current the nexus of government, securities exchanges, crypto exchanges, what it's actually doing is providing a veneer of legitimacy to a lot of projects, say like Ripple, that don't really deserve that veneer of legitimacy. It's like, oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
guys,
it's
don't feel bad. I was fooled too. I mean, I was really impressed at first, and then I started, and I consider myself a person who spends a lot of time researching crypto, looking into it, and all this type of stuff. I mean, they got me at first, and then I was just like, oh, these scams.
yeah.
Well, I'm not saying
I
it's a
was
scam, but it
also
just really is like,
I
yeah.
was also approached by them, but I immediately said, yeah, well, can I have access towards white papers and have a little look at the community? And it only took me about 1 hour of reading, and I immediately built out. And I said, not something I'm going to invest in or to hold in my wallet. So that's one of the reasons that I say always read the technical paper, or well, someone like me who makes entries about it gives an analysis that you can more easily spot the weak points where they will fail, etc., etc. And that's also one of my greatest advices. Like I said before, check out the community. If it's always the same 10 people, well, making claims and doing the marketing, do not trust it. A good community like the one of Ethereum blockchain, it's easily hundreds of thousands of users make use of it. It's an active community. Strangely enough, I'm also a very big proponent of Dogecoin. I know it's a Dogecoin. The
Like to run
Dogecoin,
that?
yeah, the coin that Elon Musk lately advertised a little bit.
Oh, Dogecoin.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
honestly,
think call it Dogecoin.
it isn't really a high value coin, but it takes a special place in my heart for the very reason it is a low value coin with a very active community. It is one of the best coins to get invested into cryptocurrency, to learn the ropes, to learn to start trading and investing, how the market moves, etc., etc. If it's the one advice I have to give to beginning traders, do not immediately invest in Bitcoin. You may, no problem at all, but if you're really serious about trading, start with Dogecoin first. With that said, well, not many people have hundreds upon thousands of euros or dollars to throw at it. They want to start small. Dogecoin is exceptionally good for it. So that's one of the main reasons I like the coin very much. So yeah.
I could like to tell a small play in about a minute before we end here. So one of the things that I tried this year with both, I'd say, success and fail, find extremely low cap blockchains. I generally don't invest in tokens. I buy like blockchain coins, right? Native.
I can follow the reason for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically you find a really depressed one, and if you know how to promote it, how to build the community a bit, how to maybe get it listed on an exchange, they can go really well. So that is like a strategy that you can find. But like you said, and this is so crucial, you need to know the community. You need to know the people are going to work with you on it. You can't really just like buy your way in to a project. Doesn't really, I mean, you can, of course, because you own the coins, but that doesn't mean that they're going to jibe with you necessarily. So learn about that and then try to figure out like the future trajectory. One other thing I would say that the best projects these days are not really focusing so much on a lengthy white paper and can summarize the whole thing in one page. And then there's also technical documentation behind that.
That's correct. Also, you mentioned something very specific, something I'd like to point out, but tend to forget about to mention towards everyone. And that's when you said, yeah, I invest in coins only, which is a very good move. By reason, well, you need to understand the definition between coin and a token. Token is a placeholder for value. So not as good as an investment if you start out. Real value is always to be found with the coin itself. Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Ethereum coin. And there are actually a lot of tokens, and I dare say Tether, for example, is factually a token. And one of the reasons that I say do not invest in that kind of, in that one, by reason, yes, it has a certain advantage of being a decent placeholder to transfer immediately your dollars towards a Bitcoin, but do not invest to hold for a variety of reasons, but the main one being it is in all reality a token which is present on multiple blockchains. And just by that information alone, well, the alarms should start sounding, because it implies there's mechanisms and complexity behind it, which doesn't make it as reliable as a real coin. Yeah, that's my little rant.
We're at an hour. We're going to throw in the show here. Jacob, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you. It was a great time.
We'll be back next week on Sunday, same time. We will.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and post the show, but we're going to come up with a topic. We don't know what we're going to discuss, until we talk about it in private chat. But we will be here next week, same time, inshallah. Guys, thanks for tuning in. If you have a topic that you want to see, make sure to let me know. Hit me, hit Gracious up. If you want to see a guest on, hit us up. I got a lot of people to bring on, but for sure, if you hit us up on private chat or whatnot on Twitter, then we will do our best to address your topic that you have, especially if it's a good one. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you episode 3. We're out.
Catch you guys later.